We shall never surrender.
One small step for man.
I have a dream.
Those who do not know real quotes are condemned to repeat bogus quotes. Let's join Professor Buzzkill for Quote or No Quote.
You know how we are about quotes, Buzzkillers. The vast majority of the famous quotes and quips from historical figures that you hear have no basis in evidence. Most of them come from hearsay, or were actually said by other people, or invented and written by biographers, by playwrights, and by screenwriters decades after the original event. Sometimes the quote was originally part of a story written long before the person to whom it's attributed was even born. Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France at the time of the 1789 Revolution, was the author, in quotation marks, get it, of such a quote, in quotation marks, get it. In fact, it may be the most famous thing about her. The story is that she cared very little for the welfare of the common people. When she was told just before the revolution in 1789 that the poor had no bread, she replied, "Then let them eat cake." It's gone down in history as one of the great examples of royal coldness and indifference. The problem is, she didn't say it. At the very least, there's no evidence that she said it. Granted, Marie spent money lavishly while the majority of the French people were suffering through hard times. Although she was highly criticized for this at the time, there's no evidence that she was callous enough to say something like, "Let them eat cake." So where do we get the story? We get it from Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the famous French philosopher. In 1767, he wrote of an incident from the early 1740s. In this story, a great princess, whom he did not name, proposed a stopgap solution when she was told that the peasants had no bread. She responded, again, according to this story, "Let them eat brioche." Brioche, for you Buzzkillers who haven't had it, is a sort of pastry-like bread, richly made with lots of eggs and butter. It's delicious. Now, Rousseau's story took place more than a decade before Marie Antoinette was born, and he wrote it down when she was only an 11-year-old child in Austria, not yet married to the French king. But somehow it got tied to her, and she's been the symbol of aristocratic arrogance and indifference ever since. The fact that she didn't say it didn't save her from the guillotine, however. She was executed by revolutionaries on the 16th of October, 1793. And it's not known what her last meal was, bread or cake or brioche or whatever. Please go to ProfessorBuzzkill.com and check out our blog posts and see what's on the Buzzkill bookshelf, and click on the Patreon button to help support the Buzzkill Institute. Only you can prevent today's lunch from being our last meal. Talk to you next week.
Hello, this is Sebastian Buzzkill. Please support my daddy by going to ProfessorBuzzkill.com and clicking on the Patreon button. While you're there, subscribe to his email list and shop the Buzzkill bookshelf. Follow him on Facebook, on Twitter at BuzzkillProf, and on Instagram at Professor Buzzkill. Professor Buzzkill is part of Entertainment One's podcast network. It is available on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and all major podcast apps. Please leave a review while you're there. Thanks for listening.